The night is quiet now. Wherever you are lying in bed, sitting in a dim room, or listening with your eyes half closed, the world around you begins to fade into a softer, slower rhythm. That's the pace we'll follow tonight. By calm, unhurried step into the past, into a landscape that shaped legends, but held far fewer comforts than the stories suggest. Tonight, you're revisiting the real American West of the 1872s. Not the polished frontier of old movies, not the sanitized version where brave cowboys ride across spotless plains under perfect sunsets. No, tonight we settle into the truth. A place where life was louder and harsher, where mornings began with aching muscles and cold air slipping through cracks in wooden walls. A place where days stretched endlessly and nights carried the sounds of wind, distant animals, and the quiet fear of what might be waiting in the dark. You will simply observe. You don't need to run, or fight, or make decisions. Your age is drifting through the experience calmly, gently letting the small details lull your mind into a slow, restful rhythm. So let's begin. Imagine the first moment of waking. You open your eyes to a cabin that feels more like a drafty wooden box than a home. The light seeping through the gaps between the boards is thin and dusty, a soft beam of morning sun carrying particles that shimmer lazily in the air. You breathe in slowly, carefully, expecting the crisp scent of pine or the earthy fragrance of soil. But instead, the air is heavy, thick. It carries the stale odors of unwashed clothes, old sweat, damp wood, animals, and a hint of something metallic like rust or maybe blood. A normal morning smell in a frontier. Your bedding is nothing more than a sack of straw. It crinkles faintly as you shift your weight, and just for a moment, the tickle on your skin reminds you that something alive may be sharing the space with you. Bedbugs were nearly unavoidable here. A gentle reminder that comfort, in this time and place, is always temporary. Your muscles feel stiff. Your back aches. Even your fingers are sore, not from a dramatic gunfight or a wild chase, but from everyday living. From the simple act of existing in a world where everything you do requires effort. Chopping wood, hauling water, tending animals, carrying supplies, walking long distances, each task uses your body as the only available tool. And that body feels it. You let yourself breathe into the ache. There's nothing to fear right now. Just notice the sensation. That it's often. This is how every day began for most people out here. No alarms. No schedules. Just a steady pull of survival. As you rise slowly, gently, you notice the air in the cabin is much colder than you expect. Even in the warmest regions of the West, early mornings could feel biting and sharp. Insulation wasn't really a concept here. Wood walls expanded and shrank with the weather, leaving thin cracks that let air weave and undoubt like invisible fingers tracing the edges of the room. If it's winter in your imagined moment, the cold is piercing. Frost might cling to the inside corners of the window or dust your blanket. Your breath would fog softly in front of you. Many frontier urns work colder inside than winter mornings are for us outside. If it's summer, the cabin might already hold the promise of a long, hot day. Dry, heavy heat that presses into your thoughts long before noon arrives. Either way, comfort isn't the first thing the day offers. And yet, even discomfort has a quietness to it here. A slowness. A simplicity that gently nudges the mind into a restful place. There is no hum of electricity. No traffic. No digital buzzes, alerts, or engines. Instead, you hear the world as it was before modern life filled our ears. The creak of wooden beams adjusting with temperature. The soft rustle of straw beneath your feet. A distant horse snorting. The lonely cry of a bird searching for food. The long steady sigh of the wind as it brushes across the plains. It's quiet, but not empty. This is a different kind of quiet, layered, natural, and old. If you listen closely, there's a rhythm here. A slow, breathing cadence that people of the frontier lint with every day. Let it wash over you. Let your shoulders loosen. You're safe. You're only a visitor in this world. As you move toward the door, the scents shift again. Outside, the air is open, expansive. Maybe it carries the smell of sagebrush or dust, or the faint sweetness of wild grass. But layered beneath those gentle smells is the unavoidable reality of the West. Animals, manure, wood smoke, leather, sweat. It's a world without deodorants, without regular baths, without sanitized facilities. People washed when water allowed it, and often water did not allow it. A monthly bath was a luxury. Entire winters might pass without a proper cleaning. But don't let that discourage you. This is a sleep story after all. Instead, think of the smells as grounding. Rich, earthy, honest in ways our lives rarely are. This is a place where everything feels real. Not comfortable, but unquestionably real. And somehow that truth has a calming weight to it. You push the cabin door open. It sticks slightly before giving way with a wooden groan. Outside, the sun is low, spilling a pale golden wash over the land. The horizon stretches uninterrupted for miles, so far that your eyes feel relaxed just looking at it. The frontier is space vast, unmeasured, almost endless. Space that feels quiet even when the world is hard. You take a step out, feeling the cold out under your feet or the dry crunch of frost, depending on the season you choose for this peaceful moment. The air brushes against your skin, fresh and unfiltered. There is no pollution here, no smog, just the raw breath of a land still shaping itself. And in that breath, you sense something timeless, something older than the West itself, older than the people who came here, something that speaks softly to anyone willing to listen. In the real 1870 seconds, stepping outside meant accepting daily risks. Scorpions hiding in shoes, rattlesnakes warming themselves in the early sun, coyotes roaming at the edge of the property, bears or mountain lions further out, sudden storms that rolled across the plains without warning. But for you, these are simply distant details, soft images to observe, not threats to fear. Think of them the way you might think of thunder rumbling far away, present, but not dangerous. The wildlife of the frontier moves through the story like shadows on a distant ridge. You watch them, but they do not approach. Nothing here is coming for you. Nothing wishes you harm. This is a calm retelling of a dangerous world, a paradox that makes it perfect for sleep. You drift toward what would be breakfast time in the 1870 seconds. There is no refrigerator, no cereal box, no fresh fruit arranged neatly on a counter. Instead, meals are simple, predictable, beans simmered over a small fire, biscuits baked hard for storage, coffee brewed so strongly it almost becomes a food group of its own. The coffee tastes bitter, harsh, almost metallic. Many settlers added crushed eggshells to reduce the bitterness or a pinch of salt. But in this sleep story, the details are gentle. You don't need to drink it or taste it. Just imagine the warmth of the tin cup in your hands, the faint curl of steam rising slowly into the air. This simple breakfast is enough to start the day. Not exciting, not varied, but steady, grounding, and warm. And for you, it's simply a quiet moment to rest in. As the morning stretches into day, the sky begins to widen. It seems impossibly large, as if the entire world were a dome of blue resting gently above your head. In the real frontier, people often felt small beneath this sky, not in a frightening way, but in a humble, grounding one. There were no skyscrapers here, no planes tracing lines overhead, just birds, drifting clouds, and the soft shimmer of heat rising off the plains. The expanse of it all has a calming effect. You feel your breath slow naturally, your mind expand a little, your thoughts soften around the edges. The West may have been harsh, but it also offered the kind of quiet beauty that settles deep into the human heart. In this world, time passes differently. There are no clocks in most homes, no emails, no deadlines, no expectation of immediate replies. People wake with the sun and sleep soon after it sets. Work fills the hours between, but the rhythm is simple, predictable. There is no rush, no frantic multitasking. Even though life here is difficult, it was also slow. Let that slowness settle into you now. Let your thoughts match the pace of a frontier morning, steady, gentle, unhurried. Whatever happened yesterday is over. Whatever comes later doesn't need your attention yet. You are here in this calm retelling, and nothing else matters. As you look across the land, faint sounds begin to rise. A cow lowing softly somewhere down the hill, hooves crunching in dry grass. A wagon wheel creaking as someone in town begins their chores. Maybe the faint clatter of pots in a nearby cabin. None of it is loud. None of it demands your attention. Everything blends together into a soft, natural ambience, the kind of soundscape that lulls people into an easy sleep even today. A reminder that life can move at a human pace, a quiet pace, when the world allows it. Now imagine you're walking slowly toward the nearest town, not in a hurry, not with a goal, just exploring the space of this story. The dirt road is uneven beneath your feet, but the irregularity of it has its own rhythm. Dust rises in soft puffs with each step. The air carries the scent forces and would smoke long before the buildings come into view. When the town appears, it does so gently, not all at once, but gradually, one structure at a time. A small general store with a crooked roof. A saloon with swinging doors that move slightly in the breeze. A blacksmith shop with a dark interior and tools hanging along the walls. A handful of homes scattered around the edges. Movies often portray these towns as bustling, wild, filled with gunfire and shouting. But in truth, many frontier towns spent more hours in quiet than in chaos. Most days passed like this. Slow, dusty, and ordinary. Let the quiet of this town settle into you. Let it soften the noise of your own day. Here, even the buildings seem to rest. You pass by the saloon, not entering, just strolling by. Inside, the sound is dim and muffled. Voices rise and fall like gentle waves, softened by the thick wooden walls. A piano might be playing, or maybe someone is just humming to themselves while arranging bottles. The saloon was a place of danger in real life, but not for you. Tonight, it is just another pocket of sound, another warm, distant murmur that blends into the background like wind or water. You don't need to go inside. You don't need to interact with anyone. You're drifting through this world like a ghost of the present, observing the past from a safe, quiet distance. Everything here is calm. Everything unfolds gently. You walk past a small building with a simple sign, doctor. In reality, stepping into such a place meant facing the limits of 19th-century medicine. Little training, no sterilization, no anesthesia yet in this sleep-softened world. The building is simply part of the landscape. It stands quietly, offering no threat, no fear. The tools inside are still. The stories that once passed through those doors are muted now, history tucked behind glass, like artifacts in a museum. You breathe deeply. Let the thought drift away. This is only the gentlest version of the West. Nothing here can harm you. The sun has climbed higher now. The light is warmer, softer, filling the world with a gentle glow. As you turn back towards your cabin, the land feels familiar. The path seems smoother beneath your steps. You aren't tired. You aren't rushed. You're simply moving through space, one breath at a time. And in this slow journey, your body relaxes more deeply. Your shoulders drop a little. Your breathing steadies. Your thoughts spread out like the open plains around you. When you reach the cabin, nothing is different. And yet everything feels quieter. The bed of straw, the wooden walls, the faint smell of dust and earth. It all feels softer now, as if time itself has settled into a gentler rhythm. You sit quietly inside the small frontier cabin, letting the stillness collect around you like dust settling on an empty table. The light from the cracks in the walls shifts slowly, warming the wooden floorboard beneath your feet. Nothing rushes here. Even the sun seems to rise with a kind of patience, as though it knows time moves differently in this place. The morning deepens without ceremony. It simply exists, stretching itself across the plains in a slow, unhurried way. Outside, the faint sound of hooves drifts across the dry earth. A single horse, probably belonging to a neighbor miles away, walks somewhere beyond your sight. Its gait is steady, rhythmic, like a heartbeat echoing across the land. The noise fades until it becomes part of the background, just another thread in the quiet tapestry of the West. You take a breath, and it feels deeper than usual. There's something about the frontier air, even in imagination, that invites fuller breaths. The scent is dusty, earthy, touched by the distant smoke of someone's morning fire. Life in this time isn't clean, but it is honest. Raw, untouched by the constant hum of machines. Every smell has a story, and every sound feels personal. You step back outside. The door closes behind you with a soft wooden thud. The world opens again in its wide, gentle way. Long grasses sway with the morning breeze. The sun has risen enough to warm your face, but hasn't yet reached the harsh brightness of midday. Shadows still cling to the ground, long and thin, stretching away from the scattered trees and fence posts. Somewhere far off, a dog barks once, then twice, but even its warning calls sound muted by distance. It's not the jarring noise of a modern city dog, just a soft reminder that other people exist out there, living their own quiet lives. You start walking again without hurry, without a destination. Paths weren't formally marked in the West, people simply walked where the earth was already worn down by use. The dirt beneath your shoes gives slightly, and each step leaves a faint print, but the wind will erase within hours. Nothing in the frontier stays permanent. Trails vanish, footprints fade. Even towns rise and fall with little warning. But for now, this path holds just long enough for you to follow. As you walk, the land changes in subtle ways. The grass becomes sparser in some patches, thicker in others. A cluster of rocks sits half-minus buried in the soil, their surfaces cracked from years of heat and cold. A few scattered wildflowers, stubborn and bright, cling to life in the dusty soil. The colors look almost unreal against the muted tones of the plains. Yellow, purple, white, tiny bursts of nature asserting themselves. A breeze moves through the landscape again, warm this time, brushing across your arms like a gentle hand. It carries grains of dust with it, but the sensation is soft, almost comforting. You feel the sun warming your shoulders. The day opens slowly around you, as though inviting you to wander a little longer. There's a fence ahead. The wood is rough and sun-minus bleached, leaning in a way that suggests it has endured more than a few storms. You rest your hand on it lightly. The texture is coarse beneath your fingers. No varnish, no polish, just straight cut boards held together by nails hammered in by tired hands decades earlier. Beyond the fence, a handful of cattle graze lazily. Their movements are slow and unbothered. One of them lifts its head towards you for a moment, eyes deep dark and calm before returning to the rhythm of chewing. Even the animals here seem to understand the pace of the frontier. Nothing rushes. Everything simply continues. You step away from the fence and keep walking. The ground slopes gently downward, leading you toward a narrow stream that cuts through the land. The water is shallow, no more than a few inches deep, but it moves with surprising clarity. Sunlight dances across its ripples, creating patterns that shimmer and shift. The soft trickling sound is soothing, like a whisper made of water and stone. You crouch near the stream, dipping your fingers carefully into the cool flow. The temperature is shockingly refreshing compared to the warming air around you. A dragonfly hovers briefly above the surface, its translucent wings catching the light before it darts away toward a cluster of reeds. Sitting beside the stream, you feel time slow to an almost complete stillness. The sound of water, the faint breeze, the distant calls of birds, all of it blends into a natural lullaby. You close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but to listen more fully. The world here communicates in soft signals, and when you tune into them, they calm you from the inside out. When you finally open your eyes, the landscape has changed, but it feels like it has welcomed you a little more deeply. You rise again and continue walking. The land stretches ahead, rolling gently toward the distant line where the sky meets the earth in a pale, hazy blue. As you walk, you notice the faint outline of a wagon rail, not a road exactly, but two long grooves pressed into the soil by years of wooden wheels. They stretch forward like a pair of worn lines drawn carefully across the ground. You follow them for a while. The ruts help guide your steps, and there's something comforting in knowing that countless people once walked a road along this very path. You imagine the travelers' families bundled together on wagons, men leading horses, women carrying children, their faces dusty and tired but determined. In real life, their journeys were dangerous and exhausting, yet in this quiet version of the West, their presence feels peaceful, ghosts of history passing gently along the trail. The sky above you begins to brighten further. Clouds, thin and wispy, drift lazily across the blue, their edges glowing in the sunlight. Their movement is slow enough that you almost don't notice it until you stop to watch. A single hawk circles high overhead, riding the air currents with effortless grace. You walk for a while longer. No destination, no objective, just movement, the kind that lets your mind drift into its own peaceful rhythm. Thoughts become softer, quieter. There is no urgency in them, only gentle, drifting awareness. A small town appears in the distance, its buildings clustered loosely together like a group of old friends leaning into one another. You approach slowly, taking in the sights with quiet curiosity. A few wooden structures stand at odd angles. None are perfectly straight. Time and weather have shaped them more than the builders ever did. You pass by a workshop with tools hanging outside. A hammer rests crookedly on a stump. Metal scraps glint faintly in the dirt. The air smells faintly of iron and wood smoke. These were the scents of daily life, simple, unrefined, and strangely soothing. Farther down, a porch creaks as someone steps inside their home. You don't see them, but you hear the muted clatter of a pot being set onto a table. The sound blends seamlessly with the rest of the town's quiet morning noises. A few chickens wander aimlessly, pecking at the ground. Their feathers rustle softly whenever they move. A horse tied to a post lifts its head and snorts gently, shaking off a fly. Its tail swishes back and forth with lazy determination. You continue walking without drawing attention. No one stops you. No one asks questions. You're simply another part of the drifting morning, moving through space without disturbing it. The sun climbs higher still, flattening the shadows and painting the town in a warm, pale gold. You feel the warmth on your skin, but it isn't harsh yet. Just steady. Embracing. A saloon's, it's near the center of town. Its front doors rest slightly ajar, swinging a few inches with each small breeze. You catch the soft echo of voices from inside, nothing rowdy, just a few men talking in low tones, their words too distant to distinguish. The muffled sound feels comforting, like the hum of a conversation overheard through a wall. You sit briefly on a wooden step outside the saloon. The wood is worn smooth by years of boots passing over it. It creaks faintly beneath your weight, but holds steady. You rest your elbows on your knees, watching dust swirl gently in the air. Time moves differently here. Minutes feel like hours and hours feel like moments. There's no schedule, no appointments, no notifications waiting for you. Only the slow pulse of a world that existed before hurry was invented. You rise again, taking one last look at the town before continuing your quiet journey. Your steps carry you beyond the buildings, back toward open land. The terrain becomes uneven, dotted with sagebrush and small stones. The scent of dry earth mixes with the faint aroma of distant pine. As you walk, you feel yourself settling deeper into a calm that's almost meditative. The rest may have been harsh, but in this gentle retelling, it's a place of silence, openness, and long, unbroken breaths. You follow the faint trail as it curves behind a small hill. At the top, the view opens again, wider than before. The world stretches endlessly in every direction, a soft patchwork of golds, browns, greens, and distant blues. You stand there for a while, letting the panorama fill your senses. The breeze is stronger up here, brushing through your hair and clothes with a warm, steady push. It feels like the land itself is breathing, and you breathe with it. The day drifts forward in a long, slow breath, and the land around you expands in a warm haze of sunlight and dust. Everything in the frontiers seems to move gently now, as though the world has decided to quiet itself just for you. The air settles. The faint rustle of the grass softens. Even the distant call of a bird feels like it drifts through some thick veil of calm. You walk without purpose, without direction, letting the land shape your path. The soil beneath your feet shifts from soft to packed, from dusty to slightly damp, where underground springs rise closer to the surface. The footsteps leave light impressions, barely visible, disappearing almost as quickly as they fall. Nothing here holds onto marks for long. The wind smooths everything back into place, as though the land prefers to let history fade gently rather than cling to it. Ahead, the horizon blurs into a muted gradient, where sky and earth meet without urgency. The heat starts to build, but only slightly, a warm pressure resting against your skin. You feel it along your arms, across your back, on your face. The sunlight isn't harsh, yet it's patient, waiting for its moment to peak. For now, it's a gentle companion, following you at a respectful distance. A patch of taller grass appears along the trail, swaying in waves like water stirred by an unseen tide. You move your hand through it as you pass, the blades brushing your palm in soft strokes. Some bend easily, others resist slightly, making a faint whispering sound. The simple textures of the frontier have a way of grounding you, drawing your thoughts away from anything heavy or restless and settling them into something quieter, something steady. Farther on, a fallen reel lies across a gentle slope, its bark stripped away by years of wind and rain. The wood is smooth, pale, almost silver in the light. You sit on it for a moment, feeling its coolness through your clothes. The tree doesn't creak, doesn't shift. It's been resting here for a long time, part of the land now. Its roots long gone, but its presence still firm. You take in the sounds again. A soft tapping, maybe from a woodpecker hidden somewhere in the grove behind you. The buzz of insects carried lightly on the breeze. A faint lowing from cattle still grazing near the town. The world feels layered, each sound drifting in undoubt, like a slow tide. You don't need to identify them or analyze them. You just let the soundscape move as it wants, surrounding you without demanding anything. You rise again, continuing your slow drift through the open land. The trail widens unexpectedly, not because of design but because of countless footsteps, wagon wheels, and hooves that passed decades before you. The ground holds subtle echoes of all that movement, even if the marks have faded. You sense the presence of the past in a way that feels more soothing than haunting. The frontier remembers quietly. It doesn't shout its history, it hums it. As you walk, the faint smell of smoke reaches you. Not heavy, not alarming. Just a thin ribbon of scent from a distant fire, maybe someone heating water, maybe someone cooking, maybe just burning old brush to clear a patch of land. It blends seamlessly with the smell of dust and grass, creating a warm, earthy blanket around you. The sky shifts again, clouds spreading just enough to soften the sunlight. A pale shadow sweeps across the ground as one cloud drifts overhead. Its edges blur and tremble as the wind nudges it along. More gather behind it, not storm clouds but thin, wandering shapes that drift lazily through the atmosphere. You follow the trail toward a cluster of cottonwood trees whose leaves shimmer with even the slightest movement of air. Their sound is distinct, lighter than oak leaves, sharper than willow, like thousands of tiny hands brushing together. The shade here feels cool compared to the open land, and the earth beneath the trees is softer, enriched by years of falling leaves. A stream runs nearby, feeding the cottonwoods. The water moves slowly over small stones, creating a rhythm that feels almost pattered. You walk toward it, kneel down, and dip your fingers into the water. It's cold enough to surprise you, even in the warming day. The sensation runs up your arm in a gentle shock, then fades into a refreshing calm. You sit beside the stream, letting your fingertips trail through the water. The current isn't strong, it's more like the land is sighing. The stream carries bits of grass, tiny petals, small specks of soil. Everything moves with purpose but without speed. Even the land's smallest gestures seem unhurried here. A butterfly flutters past, pale yellow with faint markings along its wings. It drifts without direction, bobbing in the air before settling briefly on a nearby rock. Its wings open and close in slow, deliberate movements. After a moment, it lifts again and disappears beyond the water. As time slides by, the warmth from the sun deepens, but the breeze still holds enough coolness to balance it. You stretch your legs out, lean back on your hands, and tilt your face toward the sky. The brightness filters softly through your eyelashes, creating a warm haze behind your closed lids. For a long moment, you do nothing but breathe. The land breathes with you. When you eventually rise, you feel more settled than before. Your steps carry you past the cottonwoods, back into open space. The trail leads toward a lone windmill standing crookedly against the sky. Its blades turn slowly, creaking faintly each time the wind catches them. The sound is irregular but somehow soothing, a rustic metronome counting the seconds in a world but is no need for clocks. Nearby sits an old water trough, half-minus filled with clear water drawn from the underground well. A few birds perch on its rim, dipping their heads to drink before fluttering away again. The trough reflects the sky in a fractured sort of mirror, the surface rippling each time a breeze touches it. You keep moving. The land around you begins to roll more noticeably, gentle hills rising and falling like a slow heartbeat. Shadows stretch across the dips and hollows, making the terrain look deeper than it is. Tall grass sways in waves, the pattern shifting with each gust of wind. A small homestead appears on a distant ridge. You walk toward it at a relaxed pace. The cabin is larger than the one you woke in, with a wider porch and a barn set off to the side. A wind-beaten clothesline hangs empty, swaying gently. An old wagon wheel leans against the barn wall, buried in dirt. The homestead is quiet. No voices, no movement, just the creak of a loose shutter tapping softly against the window frame. You approach without hesitation. There's no fear here, no danger, only the calm presence of a place that has weathered decades of sun and wind. You rest on the porch steps. The wood is warm now, heated by the midday sun. From here, the view stretches endlessly. Hills roll into hills until they fade into the horizon. The sky opens wide above you, vast enough to make your thoughts feel small and manageable. You close your eyes again. The breeze brushes across your skin. A distant hawk cries out once, then silence returns. Your mind drifts weightless, as if the land itself is holding you gently in place. Time passes without your noticing. Minutes, maybe more. But out here, time has no sharp edges. It moves the way clouds move quietly, almost imperceptibly. You stand once more, stepping away from the porch. The trail continues beyond the homestead, leading down the hill toward a shallow valley. You follow it. Air grows cooler again as the wind shifts. You breathe in the scent of dry grass and distant pine. The valley floor spreads out like a quiet, golden sea. Grass reaches your ankles, soft and feathery. Each step through it produces a faint rustle. Nothing here is loud. Even the landscape seems to whisper. You keep walking unhurried, allowing the land to guide your direction, letting your thoughts dissolve into the rhythm of your steps, into the hush of the wind, into the soft pulse of the frontier's endless quiet. The valley opens around you with the same quiet patience that everything in this land seems to carry. You move through the tall grass at an unhurried pace, the blades brushing softly against your legs, bending gently and rising again after you pass. The world feels wide and empty in a comforting way, giving you room to breathe. Room to think without thinking, room to let your mind drift, like dust caught in sunlight. A faint path appears beneath the grass. Not carved by intention but simply worn down by years of footsteps and hoofs passing through. You follow it without questioning, letting it win naturally through the valley. Sometimes it becomes barely visible, then sharpens again where the ground firms. It leads you as though it remembers where people used to go long before you arrived. In the distance, a line of cottonwood trees forms a band of soft green, marking the presence of another creek. Their leaves shimmer in the light, rippling like thousands of small silver coins turned by invisible hands. You make your way toward them, guided by the subtle promise of water and shade. When you reach the trees, the air shifts again. It cools. It settles. The ground dips slightly, and the creek reveals itself wider than the last one, moving more steadily, its surface broken occasionally by the flash of a darting fish or the plop of a falling leaf. You kneel beside it and scoop a handful of water. It runs over your fingers cold and clean, carrying the quiet strength of melted snow from mountains far beyond your sight. The ripple of the creek fills the space around you, steady and soft, like the background hum of a forgotten world. If you listen long enough, the sound becomes almost hypnotic. Each splash, each swirl, each tiny collision of water and stone blending into a single soothing breath. You sit in the shade and let that sound deepen inside you. A pair of birds flits from branch to branch above you, their wings beating in quick, light bursts. They chirp once, twice, then flutter away into the valley. For a moment, you watch their flight, tracing the arc they make against the sky. Their movement feels effortless, almost weightless, as though flying here requires less gravity than anywhere else in the world. After some time, you rise again. The day has warmed, but the shade lingers behind you like a gentle farewell as you return to the sunlit valley floor. You follow the creek upstream where the land begins to tilt upward, lifting you toward another ridge. The path narrows, grass giving way to scattered stones. The air grows clearer, carrying the faint scent of pine and earth warmed by the sun. Reaching the ridge takes longer than you expected, but the climb is slow and comfortable, your steps matching the natural rhythm of the land. When you reach the top, the view expands again, farther, wider, deeper. The valley stretches endlessly behind you, while ahead lies a new sweep of open plains that shimmer under the sunlight. The plains look different from the valley. The grass is lower, drier, shifting in color from green to gold. As it nears the horizon, dust whirls occasionally, rising in delicate spirals before settling again. A single tree stands far off in the distance, its branches curve like arms stretching toward the sky. You begin walking again. The land feels emptier here, but not lonely, just spacious. The air moves freely, unhindered by obstacles. Each breeze passes through you with quiet intention, as if reminding you of the world's slow heartbeat. Your footsteps carry you toward the lone tree without urgency. Along the way, you pass patches of wild sagebrush, its scent rising warm and sharp when you brush against it. The fragrance lingers, earthy and comforting, grounding you more deeply into the landscape. Closer to the tree, you notice its shade spreading wide, darkening the earth beneath it. The trunk is thick and weathered, its bark cracked into a mosaic of deep lines. You settle at its base, leaning your back against the rough wood. The texture is firm but familiar, like the spine of the land itself holding you in place. From here, the world stretches into a calm blur. Heat shivers across the plains in slow, wavering curtains. The horizon softens under the weight of the sun. Even the sky seems to quiet, its blue deepening into something warm and steady. You close your eyes. The tree creaks faintly as the wind moves through its limbs. The sound is slow, almost like an old voice humming low in the background. The shade cools your skin, and you feel your body settle, sinking gently into the earth's quiet embrace. Time becomes soft again. Minutes pass without edges. The heat, the shade, the wind, the distant calls of unseen birds, all of it merges into a single drifting sensation, like floating just above sleep. When your eyes open once more, the sun has shifted again, casting longer shadows from the tree. You rise slowly, dusting off your clothing, and continue across the plains. The ground is firmer now, sun baked and smooth. Your footsteps sound different, less rustle, more muted thump. Far ahead, you see the faint outline of another settlement, smaller than the town you passed before. The handful of buildings barely more than silhouettes. The walk toward them is long, but distance has no urgency here. You move through the warm air with the same calm pace that has carried you all day. The settlement reveals itself gradually. A simple barn. A shed with a roof that sags under its own age. A well built from stacked stones. Nearby, a horse grazes lazily, raising its head only briefly to acknowledge you before returning to the grass. You approach the well and rest your hand on the stones. They're warm from the sun, rough beneath your fingers. The windmill beside it turns in steady, slow rotations, each click of its mechanism soft and hollow. A bucket sits at the well's edge. You lower it into the darkness, hearing it plash faintly below. When you draw it back up, Droplets cling to the rope, falling rhythmically onto the stones, making small, cool spots on the warm surface. You sip carefully. The water is fresh, carrying the taste of minerals and soil from deep underground. You wander past the barn. Its door hangs crookedly, half open. Inside, dust floats, invisible beams of sunlight slanting through gaps in the boards. The smell of old hay, dry wood, and faint traces of animals creates a strangely peaceful atmosphere. The barn feels lived minus in, but gently abandoned, as though the people who used it simply stepped away for a moment and never returned. You sit on an overturned crate, letting the quiet wrap around you. The air inside is still warm, thick with the scent of time and use. A few swallows nest in the rafters above, chirping softly to one another. Their sounds echo faintly in the hollow space. Eventually, you leave the barn and continue wandering. The settlement has no people in sight, but it doesn't feel deserted. It feels paused, like a moment caught between breaths. You move beyond the last building and back into open land. The sun lowers, softening the world into shades of amber and rose. The evening air cools, brushing gently against your neck and arms. Shadows stretch long and graceful across the plains. As the day begins to close, the sky shifts into a wide canvas of warm colors. Streaks of orange melt into pastel pinks, fading into the deepening blue above. A lone star appears early, blinking faintly, waiting for the night to gather around it. You sit on a smooth stone warmed by the day's sun and watch the sky change. The light dims softly, slowly, without rush. Each minute carries you closer to twilight, a time when the frontier becomes quieter still. The air cools further, carrying a faint scent of evening dust settling, grasses resting, the distant trace of someone's cooking fire from miles away. The world feels hushed, as though preparing itself for sleep. You lie back on the stone, feeling its warmth seep into your spine. Above you, the sky deepens into a darker blue. More stars emerge, first one, then another, then dozens, as though someone is lighting candles across the heavens. The breeze settles. The grass stills. The plains hold their breath in gentle expectation of night. You close your eyes once more, letting the calm fold around you like a blanket pulled up slowly over your shoulders, warm and soft. Night settles over the plains with a softness that feels almost deliberate, as if the darkness is lowering itself gently so nothing is disturbed. You remain on the warm stone for a while, listening to the quiet transformation of the world around you. Sounds that were muffled during the day become clearer in the cooling air. The faint rustling of nearby grasses. The distant call of a night bird searching for its mate. The soft rhythmic chirping of crickets beginning their nightly chorus. Nothing is loud. Everything blends together into a calm, layered hum. The night in the frontier is not silent, but the sounds it holds are old, familiar, and comforting in their repetition. They feel like the land's way of breathing while the world sleeps. You sit up slowly, adjusting to the dim light. The moon is rising now, pale at first, then brighter as it climbs above the horizon. It's nearly full, casting a gentle silver glow that reaches across the plains. Under its light, the grass becomes a field of soft shadows. The road becomes a faint ribbon of light and dark, barely distinguishable but somehow still clear enough to follow. Even the distant hills look softened, their edges blurred by the moonlit air. You begin walking again, not because you need to, but because the night seems to invite movement. The air is cool and steady against your skin, carrying the scent of earth settling down after a warm day. Each step feels quiet, cushioned by the soft ground. Your shadow stretches beside you, long and thin at first, then changing shape as the moon rises higher. As you walk, the night sky expands into its full brilliance. Stars scatter across it in clusters bright and sharp, the kind of clarity only possible in a world without electricity or pollution. The Milky Way drifts overhead like a pale, shimmering river. You tilt your head back, breathing slowly, letting the sheer vastness wash over you. The stars don't flicker sharply, they glow in a steady, constant way, giving you the sense that time itself is slow to match their ancient patience. A light breeze stirs the grass, creating a sound like fabric brushing against itself. You pause to listen. The air moves past you with a gentle insistence, carrying hints of cooler temperatures arriving from distant mountains. In the middle of the night, the air often dips sharply, bringing a refreshing chill that touches your arms and the back of your neck. Nearby, a small group of fireflies begins to blink in slow, glowing pulses. Their lights appear randomly at first, tiny sparks in the dark, but soon fall into a rhythm that feels almost like breathing. You walk through them carefully, watching the tiny lights drift along the wind. They flicker softly, dissolving into the shadows almost as soon as they appear. Further along, you find a small rise in the land. From here, the plains stretch in all directions, bathed in moonlight. You stand still, absorbing the long, slow sweep of space around you. This world feels endless, open enough to hold every wandering thought without overwhelming you. The quiet is deep but never empty. It's a living quiet, one that wraps around your mind and settles into your chest. You sit on the cold ground, feeling the subtle warmth that still lingers beneath the surface. Your hands rest against the earth, your fingers brushing against small pebbles and bits of dry grass. The tactile sensation is grounding, a reminder that even the stillness has texture. As you rest, your breathing slows even more. The sky above moves imperceptibly as the earth turns, carrying stars from one side of the horizon to the other. The moon climbs higher, its glow soft but insistent, illuminating more of the land as the night deepens. Somewhere far away, a coyote sings a long rising call that echoes across the plains. It's not frightening. It feels natural, woven into the fabric of the night. Another call joins it, then another, until the sound spreads lightly across the distance. The coyotes finish their chorus and fall silent again, leaving the world just as calm as before. Eventually, you lie back, letting the earth support your weight fully. The ground is firm but comforting, its warmth fading into the coolness of night. Your body sinks slightly into the dirt, finding a natural shape without effort. Above you, the shooting star streaks briefly across the sky, a silent gesture of beauty that disappears almost before you register it. You close your eyes, listening to the rhythms of the frontier night. Your breath blends with the wind. Your heartbeat slows into a steady, peaceful cadence. Nothing pulls at your attention. Nothing interrupts. The land holds you gently, like an old story whispered before sleep. When you open your eyes again, time has passed. The moon is higher, the shadows different, the night deeper. You rise with the same ease you would stand from a bed of soft blankets, your body light and unburdened. You brush the dust from your clothes and begin walking again, guided not by necessity but by the simple comfort of movement through quiet space. The faint outline of another cabin appears far ahead, its roof barely visible under the moonlight. Smoke rises from its chimney in a thin, wavering line, illuminated by the moon. Someone inside tends a fire, perhaps preparing for sleep or warming the room against the nighttime chill. You pass by at a distance, respecting the stillness that hangs around it. The soft glow of the fire inside spills faintly through a small window, flickering as shadows dance across the walls. You continue onward, letting the night carry you forward in its slow embrace. The air cools further, brushing across your face with a softness that borders on soothing. Your footsteps are nearly silent now, each one blending seamlessly into the quiet earth. Ahead, the land begins to rise again, forming a gentle slope that leads toward a rocky outcrop. As you climb the slope, the wind increases slightly, bringing with it the crisp scent of stone and distant pine. You reach the top and find a small hollow nestled among the rocks, naturally sheltered from the wind. The ground here is smoother, worn down by time and weather. You sit in the hollow, pulling your knees close, letting the wind swirl around the rocks while the space itself remains calm. From this vantage point, the plains stretch endlessly, and the sky feels even larger. Stars continue their watch, as steady as ever. The wind hums between the stones, creating a deep, resonant sound that feels ancient. You let your eyes close again, not from fatigue but from the simple desire to listen more fully. In darkness, every sound becomes clearer. The wind, insects, the soft shifting of your own clothes as you settle deeper into the hollow. The night continues in its gentle rhythm. Minutes slip into hours without your notice. Eventually the air shifts, just slightly, the first sign of dawn approaching. A faint coolness lifts, replaced by a barely perceptible warmth. The darkness thins, not visibly yet, but in the way it feels around you. The world prepares for morning long before light appears. You remain in your sheltered place, letting the transition happen slowly. Stars begin to fade one by one, their glow paling as the sky softens. The moon sinks slower, drifting toward the horizon with the same quiet grace it rose. A thin line of pale blue appears far in the east, so faint it could almost be imagined. But it grows slowly, carefully, spreading across the sky until the darkness begins to retreat. The plains below remain in shadow, but their edges sharpen. Details emerge. Shapes clarify. You rise from the hollow and stretch your limbs gently. Your muscles respond easily, relaxed by the long, quiet night. You begin walking down the slope toward the plains once more, your steps slow and steady. As dawn climbs, birds begin to stir. Their calls are soft at first, tentative, like whispers greeting the light. Then more join in, filling the air with a gentle chorus that grows as the sun approaches. Their voices flow together, scattered across the land, creating a living soundscape that feels like the world waking up one breath at a time. The first golden edge of sunlight touches the horizon. It brightens slowly, spreading warmth across the sky. Shadows shrink. Colors emerge. The land glows as though lit from within. You stand still and allow the sunrise to wash over you, letting its warmth gather on your skin. The light is soft now, not yet strong enough to harden the landscape. It moves across the plains in a wave, revealing details that were hidden during the night. The world feels new again, clean, quiet, balanced, and you breathe in deeply, letting that newness fill you. The warmth of the sunrise lingers on your skin as you begin walking once more across the plains. The landscape feels refreshed, as though the world has taken a long breath and exhaled it softly into the morning air. Dew clings to the tips of the grass, sparkling faintly like tiny crystals scattered by the light. Each step you take brushes against the droplets, releasing a gentle scent of earth and new growth. The breeze is mild, neither warm nor cold, carrying the promise of a long, quiet day. It moves past you with a steady rhythm, touching your hair, brushing your clothing, encouraging your steps forward. The frontier morning lacks the noise of modern life. There is no rumble of engines, no distant roar of traffic, no artificial buzz. Instead, the quiet is filled with natural sounds that emerge slowly, organically, each one rising from the land as though called forward by the sun itself. Somewhere behind you, a rooster crows from a distant homestead. Its call does not break the quiet, it blends into it, marking the beginning of chores for families scattered across the plains. You imagine them stirring in small wooden houses, preparing for another day of work. But their presence remains far away, and your path remains peacefully empty. You continue walking along a stretch of open earth that is cut lightly from years of sun and wind. Thin lines form patterns across the ground, like the delicate stitching on an old quilt. Tiny pebbles glint in the sunlight, warmed by the growing heat. As you pass, lizards scurry between rocks, their movements quick but silent, disappearing into small crevices hidden from view. Ahead, the land begins to rise gently again, forming a low hill with a broadened top. You make your way toward it with slow steps, each one steady, each one unforced. Reaching the top gives you a vantage point where the plains roll out endlessly, and a soft sigh escapes you, not from exertion, but from quiet appreciation of the space around you. The horizon stretches beyond sight, meeting the sky in a seamless sweep of soft colors. From this high point, you notice to your left a cluster of trees gathered around what must be another water source. The leaves shimmer in slow waves, responding to the wind in a language older than the West itself. You decide to walk in their direction, letting the hill guide your descent. The slope is gentle underfoot, and each step settles you deeper into the calm that has followed you since the first morning light. The closer you get to the trees, the cooler the air becomes. Their presence creates a natural barrier against the sun, inviting you into their shade. A creek runs between them, narrower than the one before but moving with a comforting trickle. Its surface reflects the leaves above, creating ripples of green and gold as the wind shifts their shapes. You kneel beside the creek again, cupping your hands and letting the water flow through them. It's cold but soothing, grounding you with its clarity. The sound of the creek forms an easy rhythm that echoes softly in your mind, calming whatever small stirrings of thought might have begun to rise. Here, the world feels as though it has folded itself into layers of peace. A fallen branch lies half-minus submerged in the water, catching bits of leaves and grass. The current nudges them gently, but they cling stubbornly to the wood, creating a tiny dam that diverts the water into miniature waterfalls. You watch the small eddies swirl and merge, endlessly repeating themselves. The simplicity of the movement brings your breath into a slower rhythm. Birds begin to gather in the branches overhead. Their songs rise delicately, unhurried, weaving through the sounds of the creek. Each call is distinct, as though every bird has a different story to tell. Some chirp lightly, some whistle in long descending notes. None disrupt the silence, they become part of the silence, enriching it. Is it with your back against the base of a tree, letting its rough bark support you? The shade wraps around you like a blanket, softening the midday heat that has begun to settle across the plains. From here, you watch sunlight dance across the water, creating patterns that shift slowly, hypnotically. The world narrows into this single peaceful moment, and nothing presses against your mind except the gentle awareness of being present. Eventually, you rise again, following the creek downstream until it widens into a shallow pool. The water here is still glass-like, reflecting the sky so perfectly that it feels as though you could step into another world. You crouch beside it and dip your hand into the surface. The ripples spread softly, distorting the reflection into shifting shapes, then gradually falling back into stillness. A dragonfly hovers above the pool, its body glinting like polished metal in the sunlight. It pauses midair, wings buzzing in rapid motion, though its body remains perfectly still. Then it darts away in a quick, graceful arc. Its movement leaves the air feeling even quieter than before. You continue your walk, leaving the shade of the trees. The plains open up again, but now the land slopes downward in a broader valley, where patches of wildflowers scatter across the ground. Some are yellow, some purple, some white, their petals trembling with every brush of wind. The sight brings a gentle lift to your step, as though the colors themselves carry a softness that settles into your chest. The ground here is softer, cushioned by thicker grasses. Your footsteps sink lightly with each movement. As you walk, insects rise from the stalks, drifting lazily before settling again. Their movement is slow, unhurried, matching the pace of the day. In the middle of the valley stands a weathered fence, its posts leaning at odd angles. You rest your hand on one of the posts, feeling the coarse texture of aged wood. The fence once separated grazing land, but now it serves only as a reminder of the families who tended cattle here generations ago. The history feels gentle, not heavy like a memory whispered through the grass. You follow the fence line until it leads you toward an old cattle pen. Its rails are broken in places, and tufts of grass grow through the gaps. The pen holds no animals now, only silence. You step inside, hearing the faint crunch of dry earth under your feet. A small dust cloud rises but quickly falls back to the ground. Standing inside the pen, you can almost feel the echoes of movement that once filled this space. Hoofbeats, lowing cattle, the call of ranchers working through long days. Yet the energy now is calm, emptied of urgency. The past rests quietly here, allowing you to stand among its shadows without disturbance. You leave the pen through the far opening, continuing across the valley. The sun has climbed higher, brightening the land in warm gold. Your path leads toward an arrow trail carved by travelers who once moved through this region. The trail winds between low hills, following their natural curves. As you walk, the sound of the breeze changes. It whistles softly between the narrow spaces, creating a natural tone that rises and falls like distant flutes. You pause to listen, letting the sound carry you into an even deeper quiet. The hills part eventually, and the trail opens into a broader meadow. The grass here is shorter, and patches of bare earth reveal the presence of small burrowing animals beneath the surface. You see their tiny tracks crossing the dirt, delicate and hurried. In the center of the meadows stands a lone wagon. Its canvas covering is worn and torn, flapping gently in the wind. The wooden wheels are half-minus buried in earth, and wildflowers grow around the spokes. The wagon was abandoned long ago, but it remains in place like a monument to perseverance or perhaps surrender. You walk to and rest your hand on the side. The wood is dry and cracked but sturdy. You peer inside. The interior holds nothing but dust and faint traces of old fabric. Yet the emptiness feels peaceful, like a room aired after decades of stillness. You sit beside the wagon wheel, letting your back rest against it. The wheel is warm from the sun. Its curved edge fits comfortably against your shoulders. From this vantage point, the meadow stretches wide, unbroken, a calm expanse of muted greens and golds. The wind blows softly, creating waves across the grass. The rhythm of the movement relaxes your mind, smoothing out thoughts until they become faint shapes drifting just out of reach. You breathe slowly, inhaling the warm scent of sunlit plants and dry soil. Time slips by without measure. The sunlight begins to shift, casting longer shadows from the wagon and the surrounding grasses. The heat fades gradually, replaced by a cooler, more soothing warmth. You stand again, continuing your path without intention. The trail moves toward a cluster of rocks ahead, worn smooth by centuries of wind. The rocks form a natural alcove, the shallow cave-like indentation where shade pools even in the brightest hours of the day. You step into the alcove, feeling the temperature drop instantly around you. The air inside is cool and still, carrying the faint smell of stone and dust. You sit on a flat rock, letting its coolness seep into your body. The quiet here is deeper than outside, sheltered from the breeze. Your eyes drift closed, and for a moment you let yourself sink into the cool, shadowed embrace of the alcove. The calm here is profound, wrapping itself around you gently, holding your thoughts in stillness. You open your eyes again after some time, minutes, perhaps longer. The alcove feels unchanged, timeless. You step back into the sunlight, blinking as your eyes adjust to the brightness. The afternoon is arrived fully, and the land stretches before you in soft, shimmering warmth. The sky above remains clear, a pale blue expanse dotted only occasionally by thin, drifting clouds. The breeze has settled into a light, steady flow, just enough to brush across your face. You continue walking, each step carrying you deeper into the quiet, into the wide, endless calm of the frontier's open heart. The afternoon deepens with a warmth that feels gentle rather than heavy, as if the sun has decided to ease into its strength rather than press it upon the land. The plains stretch ahead in muted colors, soft gold, quiet green, and patches of dusty brown where the earth lies bare. Your steps fall into an easy rhythm, guided more by instinct than intention, moving with the slow pulse of the frontier. A group of boulders rises in the distance, scattered across the plain like the remnants of an ancient fortress long returned to the earth. You make your way toward them, drawn by their solid presence. Each stone casts a shadow that grows longer as the sun begins its patient descent. The shapes are irregular, some rounded, others sharp, edged, all worn smooth in places by years of weather. You approach the largest boulder and rest your hand on its surface. It is warm, radiating the heat it has absorbed through the day. The stone feels ancient, grounded, unmoving. Its solidity contrasts pleasantly with the shifting grasses and wandering winds. You sit beside it, leaning into the sun-warmed surface, allowing the warmth to seep into your back like a comforting hand. From this resting place, the horizon feels even wider. The plains ripple in long, slow waves as the wind brushes across them. The movement is subtle, creating a gentle, hypnotic sway. You breathe with that rhythm, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, matching the land's unhurried pace. In the distance, a small herd of pronghorns wanders across the plain. Their movements are graceful, almost silent. They pause occasionally to graze, lifting their heads to scan the horizon before lowering them again. Their presence adds living softness to the open land, a reminder that even the quietest places hold life. As the sun lowers further, the light changes. It becomes richer, shifting from pale gold to deeper amber. The boulder beside you glows faintly, catching the warm hues of late afternoon. Shadows stretch across the plains like long arms reaching toward the horizon. The air cools slightly, bringing with it the subtle scent of evening dry earth, settling dust, and the faintest hint of moisture carried from distant mountains. You stand again, continuing your wander without hurry. The pronghorns move aside, giving you a wide berth as they drift toward another patch of grass. Their silhouettes grow softer in the changing light, blending into the dusky colors of the land. Your path leads you toward a grove of low shrubs. Their branches twist in intricate patterns, shaped by years of wind. Small birds flit between them, their wings creating faint bursts of sound. As you pass, the shrubs release their earthy fragrance, a warm, resin-like smell that lingers in the air. The land begins to slope downward once more into a shallow dip. At the bottom lies a patch of darker soil, where grass grows thicker and greener. When you kneel to touch the earth, it feels cooler, fresher, evidence of underground water flowing somewhere beneath. The soil crumbles gently between your fingers, its scent rich and grounding. You stand again and continue walking. The sun has lowered enough that the light now casts everything in deep, warm tones. The sky begins to soften into shades of peach and rose, blending gently with the blue that remains. You tilt your head back to watch the transition, feeling it slow shift inside your mind, settling your thoughts into deeper calm. Ahead, the land opens into a wide plain broken only by a small solitary cabin. Its roof leans slightly to one side, and its door stands partly open. Smoke drifts from a chimney, thin and wavering, rising into the still warming sky. The cabin looks warm but cared for, a place where time moves at the same gentle pace as the plains. You approach the structure slowly, listening. The sounds that greet you are simple: the faint creak of wood expanding and cooling, the soft whistle of wind slipping between boards, the occasional crack of a fire burning just inside. You do not need to enter. You simply stand near the cabin, feeling the warmth of the place, the tangible sense of presence that comes from shelter in a vast laird. A wooden chair sits near the door. You lower yourself into it, the wood accepting your weight with a low sigh. The chair rocks slightly on uneven ground, finding a stable position after a moment. From here, the plains stretch outward in every direction, bathed in the golden light of the nearing sunset. You breathe in deeply. The air carries the scent of the fire's smoke, warm, woody, comforting. It mingles with the surrounding smells of dry grass and cooling earth. The combination is soothing, bringing a sense of belonging to this quiet corner of the frontier. As you sit, the sun continues its slow descent. The colors in the sky deepen further into shades of orange, red, and purple. The transformation happens gradually, until suddenly the world is cloaked in a warm, glowing palette that feels more like memory than reality. Shadows lengthen dramatically, stretching across the plains like dark rivers flowing toward the horizon. The fire inside the cabin crackles softly. You imagine the warmth inside, the glow of flames illuminating the rough wooden walls, the softened shadows dancing across the floor. But the outside is equally inviting, the air cool but not cold, the sounds quiet but not silent. A small group of birds crosses the sky, flying low toward a distant grove where they will roost for the night. Their silhouettes glide smoothly against the glowing backdrop, disappearing one by one as they reach the trees. Their calls fade into the stillness that gathers as evening takes hold. You stand from the chair and begin walking again, moving away from the cabin toward the open lead. The sun dips below the horizon, leaving behind a band of fiery color that lingers in the sky. The first hints of twilight settle over the plains, softening the edges of everything. The air cools more noticeably now, brushing your skin with a gentle chill that wakes your senses without disturbing your calm. Crickets begin their nightly chorus, their rhythmic song rising steadily as darkness deepens. Their sound is soothing, creating a consistent backdrop that blends into the quiet like a natural lullaby. You walk until you find a small rise in the land, just enough elevation to see farther across the plains. You sit on the ground, feeling its warmth slowly fade as the night approaches. The sky darkens to a deep blue, then darker still as the first stars appear. They blink softly at first, then grow brighter, filling the sky with their distant flame. The transition is slow, peaceful. The stars spread wider as the last traces of sunset finally dissolve. The moon rises again, casting a silver glow that spills across the land. The plains become a landscape of gentle contrasts, gleaming where the moonlight touches them, shadowed where the land dips or rises. You lie back on the ground, feeling the earth firm beneath you. The sky above is immense, a vast expanse that reaches in all directions. The stars look sharper now than at any point earlier in the day, their clarity unhindered by any modern light. Each one seems to hum with quiet permanence. Your breathing slows as you watch the constellations appear, one after another. The quiet deepens around you, enriched by the soft hum of insects, the distant rustle of grass, and the occasional whisper of wind. The calm is profound, complete, undisturbed, timeless. You close your eyes, letting the world fade into the darkness behind your eyelids. The night holds you gently, its cool air settling on your skin like a light blanket. Thoughts drift loosely, unformed and unimportant, dissolving into the spacious quiet. Time passes without your notice. Minutes, maybe hours. The land keeps its steady rhythm, breathing beneath the stars. You rest within that rhythm, carried by its slow pulse. Eventually, you open your eyes again. The stars have shifted. The moon has climbed higher. The plains glow softly under its light, stretching endlessly around you. You rise slowly, your body light, your thoughts still softened by the quiet. You begin walking again, continuing your journey through the night, guided by nothing but the calm, silver-lit expanse of the frontier. The night air greets you with a coolness that feels almost like a gentle hand placed upon your shoulders, steady and reassuring. Each breath you draw fills your lungs with the crisp scent of the plains earth. Distant water, faint traces of wild sage. The moon glows above you, bright enough to cast a pale path across the land, but soft enough not to disturb the quiet that has settled over everything. Your footsteps make almost no sound as they press into the cool ground. The grass bends beneath you and rises again once you've passed, leaving no trace of your movement. The frontier at night is a place that remembers selectively, keeps only the things it chooses, letting everything else dissolve into the vastness of the land. Far off, an owl calls from a cluster of trees. Its voice is low, hollow, and resonant, echoing through the stillness. The sound is not lonely, it simply belongs to the night, part of the deep natural rhythm that guides every creature awake at this hour. The owl calls again, then takes flight, its wings beating silently through the moonlit air. You keep walking, drawn forward by nothing more than the quiet itself. The land dips slightly ahead, revealing a shallow basin where the ground darkens with traces of moisture. A thin mist begins to form here, rising slowly as the cool night air settles. The mist curls around your ankles as you walk through it, soft and cool, swirling in faint patterns before drifting apart again. The basin widens and leads you toward a small pond, its surface reflecting the moon with perfect clarity. The reflection trembles only when a breeze touches the water, sending gentle ripples outward. You step closer and kneel at the edge. The pond holds the sky like a mirror, capturing every star, every shifting cloud, every faint shimmer cast by the moon. When you dip your fingers into the water, your ripples distort the reflection into moving waves of silver and black, then slowly smooth themselves again. Use it by the pond for a while, letting the stillness seep into your mind. The air is cooler here, touched by the moisture rising from the water. Behind you, the plains stretch in a long sweep of shadowing moonlight. But up ahead, the pond glows like a quiet lantern placed in the middle of the night. The frogs begin to croak softly from the reeds, their rhythm steady and low, blending into the sounds of insects hidden in the grass. A gentle wind stirs, moving across the surface of the water and ruffling your hair. You feel its coolness trail down your neck and across your shoulders. The sensation grounds you even more deeply in the moment, as though the night itself is brushing away the last remnants of any lingering thoughts. After a while you rise and continue walking. The path you take is simple and natural, guided by the shapes of the land rather than any deliberate direction. The moonlight brightens the plains enough, but you can see the subtle contours of hills, dips, and distant tree clusters. You walk toward a low ridge where the land rises gradually, the slope gentle under your feet. As you climb, the night air becomes even cooler. Your breaths leave faint clouds in the air, visible only for a moment before fading. You reach the top of the ridge, and the view expands again, this time revealing a faint outline of a river winding across the landscape like a pale ribbon. The moon reflects off sections of it, creating scattered glimmers that guide your eye toward its path. You descend toward the river, the slope easy beneath your steps. The sound of moving water reaches you long before you arrive, a soft, continuous murmur, deeper than the trickle of a creek but gentler than a rushing stream. It's the kind of sound that soothes the mind, steady and timeless. When you reach the river bank, you pause to listen. The river flows with quiet strength, its surface broken occasionally by small stones jutting above the waterline. The current isn't fast, but it's enough to create a steady pattern that repeats endlessly. The reeds along the edge rustle softly as the wind passes through them. You sit on a smooth stone near the river's edge, letting your feet rest on the cool earth. The stone holds the last traces of heat from the day, warming your legs slightly. The river's scent rises around you, fresh, clean, a gentle mixture of water, soil, and plants. The sound of its flow becomes a kind of lullaby, drawing your breath into its rhythm. You close your eyes. The river continues its quiet journey beside you. The night wraps around your shoulders. The world feels dim and soft, as if every edge has been rounded away by darkness. You breathe slowly, letting the sound of water ease deeper into your chest, calming your heartbeat, smoothing whatever remains of thought. When you open your eyes again, the moon has shifted higher in the sky. Its light reflects off the water in a longer line now, stretching across the river's surface like a pale road. You rise from the stone and continue your wandering, moving parallel to the riverbank for a while. The land flattens into a wide expanse, and the river curves away eventually, but you continue forward, guided only by the softness of the night. You move through a thin layer of fog that clings to the lower ground. It gathers around your feet and drifts behind you like a faint trail before dispersing. A cluster of cottonwoods appears in the moonlight, their branches swaying gently. The leaves shimmer like hundreds of silver coins shaken lightly by the breeze. You walk beneath them, feeling the cool shade even at night. Their trunks are thick and twisted, marked by age, their roots stretching deep into the soil. You place your hand on one of the trunks, feeling its solid, steady life beneath the bark. Beyond the cottonwoods lies a small clearing. The grass here is shorter, pressed down in places where animals may have rested earlier in the evening. You settle into this clearing, lowering yourself onto the soft earth. The ground is cool and welcoming. You stretch out slowly, feeling your muscles soften into the soil, the tension leaving your limbs like mist rising in the sun. The sky above is enormous from this position, framed only by the faint silhouettes of trees at the clearing's edge. More stars appear as your eyes adjust, dots of light forming patterns older than memory. The Milky Way cuts across the sky in a soft band, glowing faintly with the dust of distant worlds. You breathe deeply, matching your breath to the rhythm of the night. The air is cool, filling your lungs in slow, satisfying waves. The quiet hum of insects surrounds you, steady as a heartbeat. The trees whisper softly as they sway. The world feels vast, yet perfectly contained, as though every sound and every movement exists solely to soothe you. Your eyes drift closed again. Time slides past without shape or direction. You rest in the clearing, supported by the earth, held gently by the night. Eventually you rise and continue your slow journey across the plains, carried forward by the calm that has settled into your bones. The moon begins to lower, and the stars shift. The sky softens once more toward dawn. Another gentle day waits beyond the horizon. Dawn approaches again with the same sullen gentleness as before, a pale light seeping into the edges of the sky. thinning the darkness one quiet breath at a time. The stars begin to fade, not all at once, but gradually, as though they are being softly dimmed to make way for morning. The cool air around you shifts almost imperceptibly, trading some of its sharpness for a faint, growing warmth. You find yourself walking toward a slight rise in the land, the earth beneath your feet firm and familiar. The grass gleams faintly with dew, each droplet catching the early light and holding it like a tiny lantern. Your steps disturb some of the droplets, leaving darker footprints behind you that slowly blend back into the ground as the moisture dries. The horizon ahead brightens, a thin band of pale gold stretching across it. The first rays of sunlight are cautious at first, touching only the highest points of the land, a hilltop here, the tip of a tree there, the edge of a rock further off. They move slowly, claiming more of the world with each passing minute. The plains glow softly in response, like a great canvas waking from sleep. You pause at the top of the rise and simply watch. The sun lifts itself above the horizon with unhurried confidence, its light spilling outward, deepening the colors around you. The sky transitions through soft shades of pink and amber before settling into a clear, gentle blue. The plains shift from gray-minus blue shadow into muted greens and golds. The world appears again not new, but freshly revealed. You breathe deeply, letting the crisp morning air fill your lungs. There is a scent of damp soil, of cool grass, with distant smoke where someone else is starting their morning fire. These faint smells settle comfortably in your mind, tying you to the land without demanding your attention. As the light strengthens, small sounds begin to float to you from far away. A rooster's call from an unseen homestead. The soft clinking of metal, perhaps someone tending to tools or equipment. The faint, rhythmic thud of hooves as a horse crosses a yard. These sounds are subtle, softened by distance, and they arrive in no hurry. They become part of the gentle fabric of the morning. You descend the rise and walk toward wherever the land seems to invite you. The path that forms beneath your feet is more suggestion than road. A faint line where the grass is shorter, where footsteps once passed again and again. You follow it as it weaves across the plain, curving around small dips and rising with the earth where it lifts. After some time, the outlines of a small ranch come into view. A house, a barn, a corral, a few lean-tos clustered together in practical arrangement. The buildings are simple, made of raw, weather-beaten wood. Smoke rises from the chimney of the house. The site feels steady, unremarkable, yet reassuring, a human imprint resting quietly in all this open space. You stay at a respectful distance, watching the small scene unfold. A figure moves briefly across the yard, perhaps carrying a bucket, then disappears into the barn. A horse shifts in the corral, flicking its tail to chase away morning flies. Chickens wander near the porch, pecking the ground with tiny, precise motions. You can't hear voices from this far, only the faint suggestion of activity, muted by space and air. The ranch stands as a reminder of how life once was here: long days, constant work, no guarantees. Yet in this softened retelling you feel only the calm of routine, the comfort of repetition, the steadiness of people rising with the light and resting with the dark. The hardships remain distant, acknowledged but not intrusive. You turn away from the ranch and continue walking, letting the land draw you forward. The sun rises higher, warming your shoulders, your back, the tops of your heads. The air feels lighter now, the last traces of night's chill slipping away. The breeze is barely noticeable, just enough to move your hair and ruffle the grass. Ahead, you notice the faint trace of wagon ruts again to parallel grooves, shallower now than in earlier years but still visible. You walk between them, your steps falling where iron rims once rolled. These ruts mark the memory of people pushing westward, seeking homes, hope, or merely change. In their time, the journey was harsh, unforgiving. In your time, it is only a quiet story told by the earth. You imagine them without effort, wagons creaking slowly forward, canvas tops stained from sun and dust, families perched on wooden benches or walking beside tired oxen, children peering out at the endless plains, adults glancing at the sky, at the next rise, at the dwindling supplies. Their lives were bound by necessity and endurance, but the land keeps their memory gently now, letting the marks of their passage soften year by year. You cross a shallow depression where the wagon ruts deepen briefly, cut more sharply into the ground. Perhaps rainwater once collected here, turning the soil to mud and forcing wheels to sink. You can almost see a wagon stuck for a time, people straining to push it free, coaxing animals forward. The echo of their effort is faint now, almost absorbed into the earth. You walk through the dip with ease, feeling only the small shift in elevation. On the far side, the land flattens again, and the ruts gradually fade into open ground. You veer slightly toward a faint cluster of trees on the horizon, drawn again by the promise of shade and perhaps water. As you walk, your body settles deeper into the rhythm of your movement. There's no strain, no hurry, only step breath, step breath. The trees grow nearer, their tops rustling softly under a breeze that you only now begin to feel again. They stand near a narrow stream that traces a slow, winding line across the land. The water is not deep, but it is clear, sunlight touching the pebbles on its bed and painting them in shifting patterns. You reach the bank and sit on the edge, dangling your fingers into the water. It is cool, its temperature unchanged by the sun overhead. The current tugs gently at your skin as it passes. Tiny fish flicker near your hand before dotting away into the deeper shadows. Grass grows thicker along the stream, bending toward the water as if in gratitude. A quiet stillness settles over you as you sit there. The day around you moves on, but no part of it pushes or pulls at you. The frontier, once a place of danger and endless work, becomes in this moment a place of rest, a worried, open room where you can sit and simply exist. The hours unfold slowly. The sun arcs higher, then begins its descent. You rise and walk along the stream for a while, following its lazy curve through small dips and rises in the land. Occasionally, you cross to the other side, stepping on flat stones that break the water's flow. Each crossing feels light, effortless. Eventually, the stream narrows and disappears into the earth, its path continuing underground where you cannot see it. You leave its former bed and move back into the open plains. By now, the light has shifted again. The brightness of midday has faded toward the softer tones of afternoon. Colors grow warmer, shadows lengthen, and the breeze returns with a more noticeable touch. You find another rise and climb it, each step easy. At the top, the plains spread out again, and this time you glimpse in the far distance a low line of mountains, their shapes blurred by haze. They sit quietly at the edge of the world, neither approaching nor receding, simply existing as a distant possibility. You stand there a while looking at them. In the days of the frontier, reaching those mountains might have meant hardship, risk, and known challenges. From where you are now, they are only part of the view, a presence on the horizon that adds depth to the land without demanding anything from you. The wind rises slightly, tugging gently at your clothes. You close your eyes and let it pass over you, hearing the faint hiss it makes through the grass. Your thoughts are sparse now, like widely spaced clouds in a clear sky. The land has done its quiet work, washing away the noise and leaving only space behind. When you open your eyes again, the sun has dipped lower. Afternoon edges toward evening, bringing with it the familiar softening of light. The air cools. The land's colors deepen. You descend the rise and continue walking, never hurried, always at the same steady pace. You pass a dry creek bed, its bottom filled with smooth stones and baked earth. In the past, water would have rushed here after heavy rains, carving its way through the soil. Now it lies empty, a memory of movement that will return when the sky decides. You walk along its length for a while, the stones crunching lightly underfoot, and climb out of it and return to the grass. Somewhere nearby, you hear the faint clatter of hooves. A small group of riders appears on the horizon, silhouettes against the descending sun. They move at a modest pace, trailing dust behind them in a delicate plume that drifts in the air. They are too far away to see clearly, but their presence is enough to remind you of how this land was once traversed every day by people whose lives depended on their endless motion. You watch them for a time, you'll figure unnoticed, simply another part of the landscape. Eventually they fade into the distance, disappearing behind a low hill. Their sounds fade with them. The plain grows quiet again, holding only you, the wind, and the approaching evening. The sky continues its gradual transformation. Gold deepens into amber, amber into burnt orange into soft reds and purples streaked across the horizon. The mountains in the far distance darken into a nearly black outline. The land between you and them becomes a hush of shadow and declining light. You find a spot near a scatter of low rocks and sit, pulling your knees close, resting your arms upon them. The warmth stored in the stones seeps into your legs as the air cools around you. The sky above becomes a slow painting in motion, colors shifting, unblending in silence. As the sun finally slips below the horizon, a calm settles over the frontiers, complete as a closed book. The bright colors retreat, leaving behind a blue that darkens steadily, punctuated by the first shy, appearing stars. The wind grows softer again, its voice lowering as though the land itself is preparing to rest. You remain there, watching the sky change, listening to the evening sounds rise once more, the crickets, the occasional rustle of an unseen creature, the soft movement of grass. The day has passed without pressure, without demand, and the night arrives with the same lack of urgency. You lie back, feeling the earth's firmness under your spine, the cool air touching your face, your hands. The sky opens over you, vast and deep. More stars appear, each one steady and distant and quiet. Your breathing falls into an easy rhythm. The frontier's harshness, the storms, the dangers, the relentless work exists somewhere far away, acknowledged but not present here. In this retelling, the land offers rest instead of trial, patience instead of burden. You let your eyes close, feeling the gentle pull of sleep like a slow tide. The sounds of the plains at night blur into a soft hum. Your thoughts, whatever remains of them, dissolve into the darkness behind your eyelids. The west, real and imagined, holds you lightly in its wide open hands. And the night goes on, calm and endless, until another gentle morning waits just beyond the edge of sleep.